Now, I'll be honest, I'm always kind of hesitant with self-help books, you
All
know?
right.
But this one kind of caught my eye because it frames the journey of self-discovery through the lens of Kabbalah,
Oh,
which is an ancient Jewish wisdom tradition. So
yes.
that's a different take, for sure.
Absolutely. And what's really intriguing about Berg's approach is that he doesn't treat Kabbalah as like this kind of esoteric mystical system that's reserved for, just a select few.
Right.
He really presents it as a practical guide to understanding the universe and our place in it.
So less about deciphering cryptic symbols
Ah.
and more about how to actually apply these ancient principles to everyday life.
Precisely, he sees Kabbalah as a roadmap for aligning ourselves with spiritual energy to shape our destinies.
Mm.
He actually refers to it as a technology for the soul, like a kind of operating manual for navigating the complexities of life.
Okay. That definitely reframes things a bit for me.
Yeah.
I'm used to hearing Kabbalah discussed in much more, mystical terms.
Right.
So for someone like me who's not like a scholar of, Jewish mysticism,
Yeah.
what would be a good entry point into understanding what Kabbalah is all about?
Well, Berg really emphasizes the idea that Kabbalah is about revealing the hidden connections between everything in the universe.
Okay.
He talks about this concept of the tree of life,
Right.
which is this diagram that maps out the flow of divine energy and how it kind of manifests in our world.
Mm-hmm.
And he believes that by understanding, this structure, we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and our purpose.
And purpose seems to be a key theme here.
Absolutely.
Berg believes that everyone has a unique purpose, right?
Yes, everyone.
But what about those of us who haven't quite figured it out yet?
Right.
What does Berg say about that process of discovering your purpose?
Well, he's very adamant that, finding your purpose isn't this kind of passive process of waiting for a lightning bolt of inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
It's about actively engaging with life, pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone, and really embracing challenges as opportunities for growth.
Okay.
He actually has this rather interesting analogy he uses.
All ears.
He compares challenges to spiritual weight training.
Oh, wow.
So just like lifting weights builds physical strength, facing challenges strengthens our souls. Each obstacle, each setback is an opportunity to build resilience, learn valuable lessons, and ultimately move closer to fulfilling our potential.
That's a pretty powerful way of looking at it.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of us tend to kind of shy away from challenges, viewing them as, failures or setbacks.
Of course.
But Berg is suggesting that maybe we should be embracing those difficulties as opportunities for soul-level growth.
Exactly. He argues that avoiding challenges actually stagnates our spiritual development. It's by pushing through those difficult moments, by confronting our fears and limitations, that we truly discover our inner strength
Okay.
and ultimately our purpose.
Makes a lot of sense. It's definitely a different way of thinking about adversity.
Right.
And speaking of shifting perspectives, Berg also delves into this concept of the universe as a mirror.
Yes, and this is where it gets really fascinating. He essentially connects Kabbalah with the law of attraction, suggesting that our inner world, our thoughts and emotions, actually shape our external reality.
Okay, I have to admit the law of attraction has always seemed a bit too woo-woo for me.
Yeah.
Is Berg really saying that, just by thinking positive thoughts, we can magically manifest our dream lives?
Well, he's not suggesting it's quite that simple.
Right.
He acknowledges the complexities of life and the fact that, we can't always control our circumstances.
Of course.
But he does emphasize the power of our internal state. He argues that by cultivating positive emotions like love, compassion, gratitude,
Okay.
we shift our energetic frequency, which in turn influences the kind of experiences we attract into our lives.
So it's not just about wishful thinking, but about actively cultivating a more positive inner world.
Exactly. He even suggests practical techniques like affirmations and gratitude practices as tools for reshaping our internal landscape. And these practices aren't about denying negativity or pretending everything's perfect.
Right.
They're about actively choosing to focus on the good, to appreciate what we have, and to cultivate a more positive outlook.
That's a much more nuanced and actionable approach than I had initially assumed.
Yeah,
It sounds like Berg is really emphasizing the power of personal responsibility.
absolutely.
We're not just, passive victims of circumstance, but active creators of our reality.
That's a great way to put it. Berg's whole philosophy centers around the idea that we have more agency than we realize. And this brings us to another core principle in his teachings, the importance of love and compassion.
Okay.
not just as abstract ideals,
Right.
but as powerful forces that shape our lives.
All right, let's unpack that a bit.
Sure.
What does Berg have to say about love and compassion?
Like,
I mean, most of us understand that these are, good things, but how does he actually connect them to this larger framework of Kabbalah and self-discovery?
the way he goes beyond the conventional understanding of love and compassion as simply like warm, fuzzy feelings.
Okay.
He views them as the most potent energies in the universe,
Yeah.
capable of transforming not only our individual lives, but the world around us.
Okay, that's a bold statement.
Yeah.
So how does this work in practice?
Right.
Does Berg offer any specific guidance on how to actually cultivate these powerful energies?
He does, and this is where those practical techniques we mentioned earlier come into play.
Okay.
He emphasizes practices like loving-kindness meditation,
Great.
where you actively send out feelings of love and compassion to yourself, to loved ones, to strangers, and even to those you consider your enemies. And this practice, he argues, helps break down the barriers we build between ourselves and others,
Okay.
allowing us to experience a deeper sense of connection and ultimately greater fulfillment.
That's a very different way of thinking about love and compassion, not just as passive emotions, but as active forces we can actually cultivate and direct.
Exactly.
It's almost like he's suggesting that by practicing love and compassion, we're not just making ourselves feel better,
Right.
but we're actually contributing to a positive shift in the energy of the universe.
That's a great way to summarize it. And this concept of actively contributing to the betterment of the world ties directly into another key theme in Berg's work, the idea of forgiveness.
Yeah, I have to admit, forgiveness is a tough one for me.
It is for a lot of people.
It's easy to say we should forgive,
Right.
but how do we actually do that, especially when someone has deeply hurt us?
Yeah, Berg dedicates a significant portion of the Wheels of a Soul to exploring the transformative power of forgiveness. And he doesn't shy away from the complexities involved.
Okay.
He acknowledges that forgiveness can be incredibly difficult, especially when dealing with, deep-seated pain and resentment.
So where does he suggest we even begin?
He starts by reframing our understanding of what forgiveness truly means.
Uh.
It's not about condoning hurtful behavior or pretending that we weren't wronged.
Right.
It's about choosing to release the grip that anger and resentment have on us.
So it's more about freeing ourselves from the burden of negativity
Yeah.
than it is about excusing the person who caused the harm.
Precisely. Berg emphasizes that holding on to anger and resentment ultimately harms us more than anyone else.
Right.
It creates this kind of toxic inner environment that prevents us from experiencing true peace and happiness.
Okay, that makes sense intellectually, but emotionally it's often a very different story.
Of course.
How does Berg suggest we bridge that gap between, understanding the benefits of forgiveness
Right.
and actually doing the work of letting go?
He offers some surprisingly practical advice.
Okay.
He suggests starting by simply acknowledging the pain and anger we feel without judgment.
Okay.
Then he encourages us to shift our perspective, to try and understand the situation from the other person's point of view.
Hold on. Are you saying we should try to empathize with the person who hurt us? Isn't that asking a bit much? Especially if their actions were truly egregious.
It's definitely not easy, and Berg acknowledges that.
Right.
He's not saying we have to condone or excuse hurtful behavior,
Right.
but he does suggest that by trying to understand the other person's motivations, even if we don't agree with them,
Okay.
we can begin to detach from the anger and resentment that kind of keeps us trapped in the past.
Interesting. So it's not about condoning their actions, but about understanding the circumstances that might have led them to act in that way.
Exactly. It's about cultivating compassion, not just for the person who hurt us, but also for ourselves. Berg emphasizes that holding on to anger often stems from a sense of powerlessness.
Right.
By choosing to forgive, we reclaim our power and choose to move forward, rather than remaining stuck in a cycle of pain and resentment.
I can see how shifting our perspective in that way could be incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
It's not about denying the hurt, but about choosing to release its hold on us so we can move forward with our lives. This whole concept of forgiveness as an act of self-empowerment is really resonating with me.
And this ties directly into another key aspect of Berg's teachings.
Okay.
The idea that our souls are on a journey that extends beyond this single lifetime.
Hold on, are we about to delve into the concept of reincarnation?
We are.
This deep dive just keeps getting more and more fascinating.
It does, doesn't it?
All right, let's pause here for a moment. This feels like the perfect cliffhanger to end part one.
I agree.
We've already covered so much ground, from the basics of Kabbalah to the idea of challenges as spiritual weight training, the universe as a mirror, the power of love and compassion, and the transformative potential of forgiveness.
Absolutely, a lot to unpack.
I am very eager to hear more about this concept of the soul's journey across multiple lifetimes.
Yeah.
We'll pick up right where we left off in part 2.
So Berg's take on reincarnation, it's not about, like some mystical, ethereal concept.
Right.
He really grounds it in this idea that our souls are constantly, evolving, learning, and growing through a series of lifetimes.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but I'm also a bit skeptical.
Sure.
What kind of evidence does Berg actually present for this idea of reincarnation?
Yeah.
Is it purely based on faith, or are there more concrete arguments that he puts forward?
Well, he draws on a variety of sources,
Mm-hmm.
Including Kabbalistic texts,
Right.
philosophical arguments, and even anecdotal accounts of past life experiences.
Mm-hmm.
He acknowledges that the concept of reincarnation, isn't universally accepted,
Right.
but he presents it as a logical extension of the idea that our souls are eternal
Okay.
and constantly seeking growth.
So if we accept this premise that our souls are on this, multi-lifetime journey,
Yeah.
what does that mean for our actions in this life?
Right.
Does every choice, every experience carry more weight if it's not just impacting this one lifetime?
That's a great question, and it gets to the heart of Berg's message.
Mm.
He argues that understanding the soul's journey should empower us, not weigh us down.
Okay.
It suggests that we have a much greater capacity for growth and transformation than we might realize.
Right.
And it also reframes the concept of failure. Setbacks and challenges become opportunities for learning and soul-level evolution that we carry with us into future lifetimes.
That's a really interesting perspective.
Yeah,
It takes some of the pressure off, doesn't it?
it does.
I mean, if we don't achieve everything we set out to do in this lifetime,
Right,
it's not like the end of the story.
exactly.
There's always another chapter, another opportunity to learn and grow.
Exactly.
Uh,
And it also adds a layer of meaning to our actions.
okay.
Berg emphasizes that every choice we make, every action we take,
Right.
contributes to the overall evolution of our soul.
Hmm.
He encourages us to live with intention, to make choices that align with our highest values, and to strive to make a positive impact on the world.
I'm starting to see how this concept of reincarnation, as Berg presents it,
Yeah.
can be quite empowering.
It is.
It's not about fatalism or predestination,
Right.
but about understanding that we have a much larger role to play in the unfolding of our own destinies.
Absolutely. And it connects back to that idea we discussed earlier. The universe as a mirror.
Hmm.
If we believe that our souls are eternal and constantly evolving,
Right.
then the experiences we attract in this lifetime are not random,
Okay.
but reflect the lessons our souls are seeking to learn.
That's a powerful concept.
Yeah.
It suggests that even the most difficult experiences, the ones that seem so unfair or even cruel,
Right.
might actually serve a purpose in our soul's overall journey.
Berg certainly argues that that's the case.
Okay.
He doesn't deny the reality of suffering or pain,
Right.
but he encourages us to kind of look beyond the surface and see the potential for growth and transformation in every experience.
So instead of asking, why is this happening to me?
Right.
We might ask, what is this experience teaching me? Or how can I use this challenge to become a stronger, wiser version of myself?
Exactly. And that shift in perspective could be incredibly empowering. It allows us to take ownership of our lives, even in the face of adversity, and to see challenges as opportunities for soul-level growth.
It's a very different way of thinking about life's difficulties.
Yeah.
It's not about denying the pain or pretending everything is fine.
Right.
It's about recognizing that even the darkest experiences can hold the seeds of transformation and growth.
And this brings us back to that, that wheel metaphor Berg uses
Okay.
to describe the four aspects of our being:
Right.
mind, body, heart, and soul.
Hmm.
He argues that true fulfillment comes from achieving balance between these four aspects.
All right, let's delve into that a bit.
Sure.
We've touched on the soul.
Right.
But what about the other three aspects, mind, body, and heart?
Yeah.
What does Berg say about the role they play in our overall well-being?
Well, he emphasizes that these four aspects are interconnected
Okay.
and influence each other profoundly.
Right.
He argues that neglecting any one of them creates an imbalance that can lead to, unhappiness, disease, and a sense of unfulfillment.
So it's not enough to just focus on, spiritual development or
Wow.
intellectual pursuits.
I guess-
We also need to take care of our physical bodies and cultivate emotional intelligence.
Exactly. Berg sees the body as a temple, a vessel for the soul.
Mm.
He advocates for practices like healthy eating, exercise, and getting enough rest,
Right.
not as ends in themselves, but as ways to support our overall well-being
Okay.
and to create a strong foundation for spiritual growth.
That makes sense. It's hard to focus on higher pursuits if you're constantly feeling drained or unwell.
And then there's the heart, which Berg sees as the seat of our emotions
Mm.
and the center of our capacity for love and compassion.
Right.
He argues that cultivating emotional intelligence, learning to manage our emotions effectively, and developing empathy for ourselves and others are essential for living a fulfilling life.
It sounds like Berg is advocating for like holistic approach to personal growth.
Yeah.
One that encompasses all aspects of our being, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual.
That's a great observation. He doesn't see these aspects as, separate or competing,
Right.
but as interconnected pieces of a larger puzzle.
He believes that true fulfillment comes from integrating all four aspects of ourselves into a harmonious whole.
This idea of achieving balance really resonates with me. Yeah. I think a lot of us tend to prioritize one or two aspects of our lives
Right.
while neglecting others.
Of course.
We might focus on our careers at the expense of our health or pour all our energy into our relationships while neglecting our own personal growth.
That's a common struggle, and Berg acknowledges that. He reminds us that life is about finding a dynamic equilibrium,
Right.
not about achieving some perfect state of balance that, remains static.
Of course.
It's about constantly adjusting and recalibrating as we move through life's inevitable ups and downs.
It's a journey, not a destination, right?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And Berg provides us with tools and insights to help us navigate that journey with greater awareness, purpose, and intention.
Right.
He encourages us to view every experience, every challenge, every relationship as an opportunity to learn, grow, and move closer to fulfilling our soul's potential. This has been a truly illuminating conversation.
It has.
Berg's approach to Kabbalah is so refreshingly practical and accessible.
I agree.
He takes these ancient principles and applies them to the challenges of modern life
Right.
in a way that feels both profound and empowering.
Absolutely.
It's definitely given me a lot to think about.
Yeah.
And one of the things that keeps coming back to me is this idea that our lives are a reflection of our inner worlds.
That's a core principle in Berg's teachings. He emphasizes that by shifting our inner landscape,
Right.
by cultivating positive emotions, by embracing forgiveness, and by aligning ourselves with our soul's purpose,
Right.
we can create a more fulfilling and meaningful external reality.
So much of what we've discussed kind of boils down to that idea, doesn't it?
It does.
It's about recognizing that we have more agency than we often realize.
And that brings us to another key theme that Berg explores in depth, the concept of tikkun olam, or repairing the world.
Okay, we briefly mentioned tikkun olam earlier.
We did.
But I'd love to hear more about what Berg has to say on this topic.
Okay.
It seems like a fitting way to wrap up this part of our deep dive.
I agree. Tikkun olam is a central concept in Kabbalah.
Right.
And Berg gives it a very practical and actionable interpretation.
Okay.
He argues that it's not just about, performing good deeds or donating to charity,
Right.
although those things are important.
Of course.
It's about recognizing our interconnectedness and understanding that our actions, no matter how small, have a ripple effect on the world around us.
So it's about taking personal responsibility for making the world a better place.
Exactly. And Berg argues that tikkun olam is intricately linked to our personal growth.
Okay.
By working on ourselves,
Right.
by cultivating love and compassion, by embracing forgiveness, and by living with intention. We're not only improving our own lives, but also contributing to the healing and transformation of the world as a whole.
That's a beautiful and empowering concept. Yeah. It suggests that our individual journeys of self-discovery are not separate from the larger project of creating a more just and compassionate world.
And that's one of the key takeaways from the Wheels of a Soul. It's a call to action, an invitation to step into our power and to live a life that aligns with our highest values and contributes to the well-being of all.
We'll pause here and continue our exploration of tikkun olam and its implications in part 3.
Sounds good.
Join us as we delve deeper into Berg's insights on how we can each play a role in repairing the world. So we left off talking about tikkun olam, and I guess what I'm wondering is, what does that look like in practice?
Yeah.
It's such a big concept, but how do we actually put it into action in our everyday lives?
Well, and that's kind of the beauty of Berg's approach to tikkun olam. He breaks it down into these manageable steps.
Okay.
And he emphasizes that even seemingly small actions can have like this ripple effect.
Mm.
And he really argues that Tikkun Olam starts with our own personal transformation.
So the idea is like by working on ourselves, by becoming more compassionate, more forgiving, more self-aware,
Right.
we're already contributing to the healing of the world.
Exactly. He believes that our inner state, it has this like direct impact on the energy we put out into the world.
Right.
When we're filled with like anger or resentment or negativity,
Right.
we radiate that energy outwards and we actually contribute to the collective suffering.
Mm.
But when we cultivate love,
Yeah.
compassion, forgiveness within ourselves,
Okay.
we become like these beacons of positive energy.
Right.
And we influence those around us and create like this ripple effect that extends, way beyond our immediate circle.
Okay. I can see how that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think it's easy to feel kind of overwhelmed by like the enormity of global issues.
Of course.
Climate change, poverty, war, like these are huge problems. So
Right.
how can our individual actions, even if they're positive, like how can they really make a difference in the face of such big challenges? Well, Berg reminds us that like despair and inaction are never the answer. He encourages us to focus on what we can control, starting with our own like sphere of influence.
Right.
He suggests asking ourselves, what can I do right here, right now to make a positive impact?
So instead of getting like bogged down in the enormity of it all,
Yeah,
we can focus on concrete actions, no matter how small they seem.
precisely. It might be as simple as, like offering a kind word to a stranger,
Right.
volunteering at a local charity,
Right.
or just, making a conscious effort to reduce our environmental impact. Every act of kindness, every effort to make the world a better place,
Right.
no matter how seemingly insignificant, it contributes to the collective healing process.
I love that perspective.
Yeah.
It's this reminder that we're not powerless.
Right.
Even when we're faced with these like overwhelming global challenges,
Exactly.
we can each choose to be part of the solution, one positive action at a time. And Berg goes even further.
Okay.
He suggests that our efforts to repair the world actually accelerate our own spiritual growth. He believes that by extending ourselves, beyond our own ego-driven desires,
Right.
by acting with compassion and generosity, we tap into this like deeper source of fulfillment and meaning.
So it's like this reciprocal relationship.
Yes.
By working to heal the world, we also heal ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Berg sees Tikkun Olam not as a burden or an obligation, but as an opportunity for profound personal transformation.
Okay.
He argues that by aligning ourselves with the forces of love, dafare, compassion, and healing,
Yeah.
we unlock our true potential and contribute to the creation of a more just harmonious and fulfilling world for all.
That's such a hopeful and empowering message.
It is.
It suggests that we're not just these like passive observers in the unfolding drama of life,
Right.
but active participants who have the power to shape our destinies and contribute to the well-being of the planet.
And that, I think, is the essence of what Berg offers in The Wheels of a Soul.
Yeah.
It's a guidebook for living a more meaningful and purposeful life, a roadmap for navigating the complexities of human existence with greater awareness, compassion, and courage.
It's definitely given me a lot to think about, from that concept of challenges as spiritual weight training
Right.
to the idea of the universe as a mirror, the transformative power of forgiveness.
Yeah,
This whole deep dive has just been packed with insights.
it has.
But if I had to distill it down to like one core message, I think it would be this idea that we have more agency than we realize.
That's a great distillation.
Yeah.
Berg challenges us to move beyond this kind of victim mentality,
Right.
to embrace the idea that we are active creators of our reality, and that our choices, both big and small, have this ripple effect that extends far beyond our individual lives.
It's a call to step into our power to live with intention and to contribute to the creation of a world that reflects our highest values.
Absolutely a powerful message.
And that's a pretty inspiring message to end on.
It is The Wheels of a Soul is a book that stays with you long after you finish reading it. It's a reminder that our lives have meaning and purpose,
Right.
and that we each have this like unique role to play in the unfolding drama of human existence.
We'll leave you with that thought, listeners.
Yeah.
As we wrap up this deep dive, we encourage you to reflect on the concepts we've explored and to consider how you might integrate them into your own life.
Right.
How can you cultivate a more positive inner world embrace challenges as opportunities for growth,
Right.
and contribute to the healing of the world?
Yeah,
These are questions worth pondering as you continue your own journey of self-discovery.
absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this fascinating exploration.